Hi everybody. So today I want to talk about how it looks like both Boris Johnson and Jeremy Hunt, whichever one of those is installed as our next Prime Minister, is going to make it official government policy that we go for a no-deal Brexit. This is because they both said that the backstop section of the withdrawal agreement is dead. Now, this could just be rhetoric in order to get them to get the Tory party membership to vote them in, or they could be deadly serious. We're not 100% sure about this, but I think there's a lot of. I think they're pretty serious, and I want to argue that I think this really is, in a sense, the way that they're going to try and make this happen, particularly Boris Johnson, is tantamount to a coup, in my opinion. Now, I'll expand a little bit more. So they're doing this really to pander to the Tory party membership, who are now sort of in a big part made up of UKIP and Brexit Party limited company entryists. Now, my prediction is that over the next week or so, and certainly whoever gets put in, particularly if it's Boris Johnson, and I think the assumption needs to be made that it will be Boris Johnson that becomes our next Prime Minister, he's going to ramp up the rhetoric, claiming a no-deal Brexit was exactly what people voted for. Now, that, of course, is a complete out-and-out lie, but it'll be his rhetorical push, and some will be, obviously gullible enough to believe it. The truth is, of course, as I've said time and time again, absolutely nobody knew what they were voting for. We still don't, because we have absolutely no idea what Brexit is, and assuming it happens, what it will be. So what people voted for in 2016 was really their own personal interpretation of Brexit, and not a defined specific interpretation of Brexit. Now, this was deliberate. They deliberately left it vague as to what Brexit was. Brexiters were then, by doing that, Brexiters were able to promise all things to all people, and that's exactly what they did, because they knew that if they'd specifically defined Brexit, then there wouldn't have been a majority for it. And if you doubt that, you can ask yourself this simple question. So here we go. So assume that there's another referendum, okay? And assume that referendum has three choices, each with equal weight. The choices are leave with no deal, leave with Theresa Mays withdrawal agreement, or remain. Now, if you think that would be unfair because you believe it would split the leave vote, then you're explicitly admitting people did not know what they were voting for. You're also admitting that there's no majority in this country for only one kind of Brexit. But anyway, the Brexit proponents, they've been hiding behind meaningless platitudes like the will of the people. They spout shallow rhetoric about democracy, all the while knowing they at best have no idea what the will of the people actually is, and at worst, they're now actively subverting the natural democratic flow of events. And as I've said before, this is about so much more than leaving the European Union, because this is a fight for the very soul of our country, of who we are, of how we want to be seen, and of what kind of place we want our children to grow up in. Now, if you want a country that is inward-looking, that is governed by demagogues who are prepared to pander to the basest, guttural aspects of human nature, of lies, ignorance, prejudice, victimhood, then knock yourself out. Keep on supporting these people, but just know that the blame rests entirely upon your shoulders as we sink further into this mire, as the union of the United Kingdom crumbles and we diminish further into a bitter little country off the edge of Europe. If, however, you're like me and you believe the United Kingdom is one of the greatest countries on earth that is punched far above its weight economically, culturally, militarily, diplomatically, long after its empire had diminished, then you need to fight this with everything you have. Because as part of the European Union, we became the fifth richest country on earth. We were so powerful, we actually shaped the European Union. Countries looked to us for leadership, and despite what the peddlers of victimhood and false patriotism say, we were one of the three leading countries. If push comes to shove, no one challenged us on matters that we were adamant about. Yet to listen to the Brexiters, you would think we were the sort of tiny little island buffeted and bullied by other countries. No, we were the leader, and it is these Brexiters that are hell-bent on turning us into a vassal state, weakened, diminished and poorer. So ask yourself this: what even is Brexit now? What is the point of it other than some pig-headed determination to wreck rather than to build? Because that's what Brexit is. It's about destroying what was built by generations before us. Generations sickened by war and bloodshed, who were determined to save us from what they had witnessed. Think about that. Brexiters actively want to destroy their legacy and their achievements. The proponents of Brexit, the minnows of politics, are attempting to undo the achievement of giants who came before us. It would be impossible for me to list all the lies that have been perpetrated to get us to where we are. But one of the ones that disgusts me the most is the constant reference to how we won the world wars. Well, we, and in particular those proponents of Brexit, did no such thing. They didn't go over the top at Passchendaele. They didn't face the blaze of bullets on the beaches of Normandy. And those who did created what is now the European Union. These proponents of Brexit have simply opened the gates of populism, the lazy, cheap, age-old shortcut to power. They rode the beast, feeding ever more wildly exaggerated claims and rhetoric to keep it alive. Now, I can already hear howls of Brexiters screaming, yes, but these people were lied to in 1975. Yet the evidence simply doesn't back that up. For example, in 1967, Howard Wilson, the then Prime Minister, and in the run-up to us joining the EEC, said this: but whatever the economic arguments, the House will realise that, as I have repeatedly made clear, the government's purpose derives above all from our recognition that Europe is now faced with the opportunity of a great move forward in political unity, and that we can, and indeed must, play our full part in it. So this is explicit and it's clear. And so in 1975, when the country voted in a referendum on whether it wanted to remain in the EEC, those people who fought in the First and Second World Wars voted by 80% to remain. They were by far the biggest demographic to vote for that. The way Brexit have been able to drip feed the betrayal narrative for so many decades now, like poison into the mouths of the nation, is both staggering and it's repulsive, because it has infected the country. And the culmination of their scheme is now just becoming clear. They spent decades lying, they spent decades poisoning, and finally they think they are about to win the greatest prize, one where we crash out of the European Union without a deal. Now, don't think GATT24 is going to save us. It won't. Just because Boris bumbles a few words about paragraph 5b, it doesn't mean that he's able to alter reality or make fiction truth. To prove that, all you need to do is simply read GATT24, read all the paragraphs. It's all there. It's plain to see. And I'm sick and tired of watching the country I love reduced to the pitiful state it is now, by people who are either ignorant of reality or are liars and cheats on an industrial and historical scale. Remember, these people can't even agree amongst themselves, and they are already calling each other traitors to the cause when they aren't deemed to adhere to the current view of what is a true Brexit believer. So we've got to fight this. It isn't too late, far from it. And when the new Prime Minister is installed, because they will be installed, and they attempt to force through a no deal, possibly by proroguing Parliament, we must let our MPs, good MPs, honest MPs, know we stand behind them as they try to thwart what is in effect a coup by men and women in grey seats. So I believe this is the final chapter in this absolutely humiliating horror story. They will push to inflict maximum damage to the UK. They will push us almost to the abyss, but it will be at that point it will all come crashing down for them. Because I still believe Parliament's going to stop them. We will get another long extension, we'll get a ratification referendum, or possibly even a revocation, and Brexit will eventually be consigned to the dustbin of history along with all the other national humiliations we've had to endure along the way. I honestly believe we will remain and reform within the European Union. Because sometimes you need to almost lose something to be able to fully appreciate what you have. Maybe this is just our country's necessary journey in order for us to learn that lesson and finally appreciate the legacy past generations fought so hard to leave us. Thank you.